Yeah, I think first off, Colin, you gotta set yourself up for success. And, I'm sure everybody's doing a lot of this today, but, using LinkedIn Sales Navigator to really follow your key accounts and personas, so that you can actually know what's going on. I think personally, like if you're just scrolling on LinkedIn and you're a sales rep and you're letting the algorithm pick for you, you're wasting time. And it's a huge mistake. Right. So you've got to make sure that you have your sales navigator set up in the right way. You're following the right people. You're following the right accounts. You're getting the right news, delivered to you. I mean, I can tell you even back in 2014, when Inside View was doing this, like that's how I was spending my morning, right? They were sending me account insights every morning and I'm reading through it, trying to determine like what my reach out strategy is. So I think that's number one is like setting yourself up for success, whether you're using Google Alerts, Inside View, Zoom Info to send you those, whatever those are, like what are those key things that are going to set you up for that? Now, a lot of people are just going to tell you like, hey, funding alerts. Like, great. You're going to be one of the million people that got that funding alert and you're going to reach out. Same thing for like somebody got a new job. That's great. Like I just posted on LinkedIn the other day, I just got a new role as an advisor for a company called Data Plant. And it was so funny. I'm going through and, I'm getting the messages from the people that are like, hey, congrats on the new role. Well, I've added like, I don't know, 8 new roles in the past, few years. And there's literally messages from people that's the only thing that they have ever said to me. And in a line, it's just congrats on the new role, congrats on the new role. I mean, so like who even responds to those? And I was actually just going back through and reading another one. I was trying to reach out to, a sales influencer and the Salt Lake City market like years ago to come, speak at an event for me. And he said that what got in the way of my message was a bunch of people telling him happy birthday. I'm super happy that LinkedIn does not do the birthday messages anymore. But I think my point here is that, like whether it's happy birthday, whether it's, congrats on the new role or congrats on the new investment, like that's just not stuff that's really going to help you break through anymore. It's just not it. So if you're setting yourself up and then you're looking for certain things, the question is like, then what are you looking for? Right? If it's not those two things, what other place can you run? And I think that's where we want to spend, the bulk of our time today. And, maybe we'll talk about, some of the fun stuff that maybe, even like books like, how to get a meeting with everyone or using Twitter or, using like different pieces or different parts of LinkedIn, to help you really get meetings or to use your creative side, to go do that. So there's some really great tools out there. Everybody knows like there's Sendoso, there's direct mail, there's Vidyard and Loom, right? So I think the question that becomes for a lot of people, especially if you're, new to this, you're 23, 24, or it's your first job as an SDR. It's more like, how do you do those things effectively and use them in the right time, in the right order to get your message across? So yeah, does that make sense? Is that where you want to go?
100%. 100%. You said, hey, all the roads I normally drive on aren't working or aren't working as well because everybody else is driving down them. So you said something interesting about Sales Nav, right? You've got it set up a certain way. You're not relying on the algorithm. You've set yourself up to catch these moments, whether it's on LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever. So I'd love to understand where we start there. How do you set yourself up to catch these moments? Because I think we started talking about messaging, but this is not necessarily about messaging. This is about timing and relevance. And I argue this is a method of like targeting. And my argument is targeting wins the day every day. If you have somebody that's relevant and it's relevant to them right now, it's better than the best messaging into somebody that it's not necessarily relevant to right now.
Yeah, no, especially if it's top of mind for something that they, just did. So I think I wrote a LinkedIn post, oh my gosh, it must be at least 5 years ago. So I'm dating myself, a little bit here. But one of the things that I've always, found that's really effective and still is today, and I promise you that, is this triple tap, methodology that starts all with making sure that you're getting the right messages and the right data inside of your LinkedIn feed. So the situation, and you guys can go and replicate this, is, you find that, that most recent post at the company that you're getting ready, that you're targeting, and just look at what the person said. What did they share? Was it a podcast? Was it a blog? Was it an update about their company? Whatever that post is, I think step one in my version of a triple tap is to like it, except for you do not like it. So you have to use on LinkedIn, you have like laugh, heart, support, clap, whatever that is. That's step one. Because even if you look on there, you'll see that most of them are likes, and that's just not going to stand out. So everything we're going to do is going to try to stand out from the crowd. So that's number one. Inside of that, go and read what that article is. And my example for this one from years ago is this person I was trying to get in contact with had shared something on what they call the final straw or the last straw. And this was back when like the beginning of paper straws and like all this stuff, right? Because we wouldn't say the turtles, right? And she had shared like a GoFundMe on a metal straw that you could like fold up and like put on your keychain. So, I did the heart scenario. I'd commented something on there around, the final straw, and then shared her like with her like the fundraiser, and then immediately went in and crafted an email so that number one, that like, and then that comment, and then that email all landed within about 10 minutes of each other. And the great thing about that is when you get those 3 notifications, in a row on your phone, and it's from the same person, it's going to make you respond. You have a higher likelihood of response. So this is where that creativity like comes into play. How can you tie in your product, their persona, and what they said together all in one spot and really just make it work? So that's pretty tough to do. You have to have a really good understanding of your personas. You have to have a really good understanding of what your messaging is to do that. And you have to use that creativity, that thing that, that AI chatbot, can't do, to tie it all together. So, I don't know, is this something that you've heard about before, Colin? I mean, I don't want to come on your podcast and talk to you about something that you've heard 100 times. Yeah.
No. I mean, even if we have heard it, the reason we do this podcast with different people is because different opinions are valuable, and it's different opinions at different times. And you're somebody who has influence over hundreds of SDRs at this stage.
No, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I could do math. and listener, trust me, we're doing multiplication and not addition when we're trying to fill the number of SDRs in Sphere. But he's a humble guy from St. Louis with a humble hockey team. Didn't do that.
No, they're terrible this year. Yeah,
we're not going to cover.
So, but I think that method has worked really well. For me, I think there's a couple things that I just want to reinforce that are important. The creativity, tying it all together, but also the timing of it. You can't do those 3 things, and this is where I think sometimes the flexibility out of Sales Loft and outreach and things like that just doesn't really give you like what you need. And this is doing things outside of the norm is so important, is that you do something like that to stand out. Because what most people are doing is they're sending that email, they're like, hey, my boss told me to wait 3 days and then I'm supposed to give you a phone call. That's great. But I can tell you right now, when things are stacked on top of each other, it really becomes top of mind. And think about that in your personal life. Right. If you have Colin, if God forbid, like somebody in your family got sick, right? And you called, or somebody called you, you didn't answer. And then your phone rang again. You didn't answer, but it rang a third time. You're going to pick it up. Right. I'm not advocating that for that as like a best practice. Like I've seen some people talk about like, calling people 2-3 times in a row to make sure that it's, that you get through. But that's just like part of like how your brain works. When something like that continuously happens over and over again, right, you're going to be more likely to respond or at least take a look at it. I mean, I can tell you right now, and maybe you, Colin, as well, like there's a lot of emails in your inbox and they get skipped over. But when something is there and then on LinkedIn and then in another spot, all of a sudden, like it becomes a lot more relevant and you're at least going to take a look at it.
I'm glancing at it 100%. And I think this is, so let me recap your post, then I'll add my context or recap your process. You're starting with a post from a prospect on LinkedIn. You're going to engage with it, but not the standard like button. You're going to read the article, comment on it, reshare it, and then write a personalized email based on the content of what they posted. I got that sense?
Yeah, and I might even, that same verbiage that I put in my comment or on the reshare, I might even put that in my subject line in my email as well.
Totally.
Right?